Welcome back, Trekkies and Trekkers. It's time for another episode of... What show is this again? Treknicity. That's right. No, I didn't really forget the name of it. I'm just having you on. This is a show where we talk about Star Trek and... I mean, what else can I say? We talk about Star Trek. As you can see, I'm your host, the Trekkie, Lars.
And I am the other host, the Trekkie, Brandon.
Give me a tea. Swear to tea. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's been one of those days. So this is our second episode for this week, which is really cool because we cover 5 episodes of Star Trek in 1 week. Last episode we talked about the last 3 episodes of Picard season 2. This episode we're going to catch right up, and we're going to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds episodes 1 and 2, just because I got home at around 7:30, 7:45, and just got around to watching Strange New Worlds. So it's largely fresh in my brain. I'm gonna butcher some of the name of the device in this episode. So I already started calling it Manamana. And of course everybody here is like do 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 do. Exactly. So we're gonna get right down to it. However, before we get into talking about these 2 wonderful episodes of Star Trek, we're going to share the love a little bit, and we're going to do a little couple of cross promotions for our friends out there in the Podverse. Is that what we call it now? Did I just like
the Podverse?
Coin a new phrase or
the Trekverse?
The Trekverse. There we go. Yes. First off, we're going to do a little promo for our friends over at the Irreverent Nerd. So let's get right into it.
Nerd alert.
That's right. Do you like reading comic books? Are you a comic book writer, artist, or writer? Screwed up already. Do you love discussing comic book movies and TV shows? Then the Irreverent Nerd podcast might be for you. Join host Richard and Will every Wednesday as they discuss the topics and even more. You can follow them on Instagram at irreverent_nerd. That's at IRREVERENT_nerd. See you around the Nerdverse, fellow humans. And our new friends, the ones I keep harping on about every single episode of everything I do. Sometimes I'm going to the restroom. Have you seen... Look at myself in the mirror. Have you seen this? No. Anyways, next in line is our friends at... That's right, Starship Tempest. Ha! I love talking about these guys because, seriously, I love you guys. I love you. I know I've said it probably a billion times, but hey, these guys literally reignited my love for Star Trek. I was such in a deep funk, and I cannot wait to get these guys on the show and talk to them and do some recording with them. But huge, deep, negative funk on Star Trek because of that craptastic, train wreck known as Axanar really burned my love for Star Trek out. However, came across these guys on just by complete accident. I got on Instagram. I was starting my new photography account, and these guys just popped up, and I'm like, oh, I'll check this out. And so what Starship Tempest is, for anybody who hasn't watched or isn't aware of it, it is an actual play podcast where you listen to the players playing out the role-playing game, the TTRPG campaign for Star Trek Adventures for their group, which is called Starship Tempest. As you can see on the screen here, we have their website, That's great. Excuse me while I untie my tongue. Sorry, it's been a very, very long day at work. If you check out things at starshiptempest.com, you'll be able to Obviously, see all the links to where you can stream it because they're on Spotify. They're on everything. That's where I listen to it primarily. Also, there's a link to their Patreon where you can back them and you get early access to the episodes, which is phenomenal. I wanted to say fantastic and phenomenal, and I almost said phenomenal. Am I just am I just coining words like nonsense words today? I think that's what it is.
You're coming up with new Star Trek.
I guess
alien species.
I'm like coming up with my own Treknobabble, which is all right then. However, if you like Star Trek, which I'm assuming you do because you're watching this show, and you like TTRPGs, which for the uninitiated, those are tabletop role-playing games, then check out StarshipTempest.com and go over and listen to their podcast. I guarantee you, if you don't laugh, you have no sense of humor. All right? Now, back to the action. Oh, look, we're back.
Strange New Worlds.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. There's been a lot of anticipation and a lot of build-up for this.
A lot of hype.
A lot of hype. Especially after Anson Mount and co kind of made an appearance on Star Trek Discovery Season 2 when Pike temporarily took over command of Discovery and they went about doing their bits and pieces. That being said, there was a lot of wonderful praise for Anson Mount's performance of Captain Pike during his time on Discovery, and people were like, hey, this guy's pretty cool. This is a good version of Pike. I like this. I'd love to see him in a series.
I thought he was awesome. I was one of those people.
Yeah.
I was like, he's amazing. I want to see more of him.
And there were a lot of other people just like you who were just like, man, that would be great if he was in a series. And oh my goodness, Paramount listened. and now we have Star Trek Strange New Worlds. For the uninitiated, first of all, I'm going to give you that ever so important warning. We are going to spoiler the crap out of this. So we're going to tell you all the details, and so you have been warned. That being said, the series follows the adventures of the Starship Enterprise under the command of Captain Christopher Pike. We do see a brief appearance in the first episode by now Admiral Robert April. Robert April has long been known to be the very first captain of the Starship Enterprise, the Constitution-class Starship Enterprise. So we see him as an admiral in the first episode of Strange New Worlds, which is cool. I'll talk about my feelings, and we can talk about our impressions of him as a character and the kind of reaction that some people had about his ethnicity. So let's just get stuck into episode 1. It's not as fresh in my mind, but still a phenomenal episode. So
we did start off saying there was a lot of hype for this series, a lot of expectations. Did it live up to it?
Absolutely. I mean, look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. I think you texted me. Yeah, you texted me the link, and I want to say that this series is the first Star Trek series to actually be certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes.
That's awesome. Yeah, it lived up to the hype and exceeded the hype. So it exceeded my expectations.
One thing I really loved about the show right out of the gate is that they gave it that cinematic feel without over polishing everything. Like if you look at the bridge of the Enterprise, excuse me, it's it's not the floating Apple Store in space. Like, not everything is super shiny and like pure white, with the kind of, again, with that hyper glow feel to it. I mean, of course, it looks a lot more modern than we were used to in the 60s. And then also when we saw it again, even like it just changes. That's one thing, is because you never know where you're going to go with something. They try to give you the best of what they've got at the time. So you see something
they
like,
got to modern it.
Yeah,
Make it modern.
When they looked, like when they showed the bridge of the Enterprise at the let's see, was it the end of season 2 of Discovery? We saw Spock, and number one, and Captain Pike on the bridge of the Enterprise, and it did look a lot shinier and newer than it does in this series, but still, I feel like the elements that they kept were enough to make that feel, to give you that nostalgic feel for the old Enterprise.
Oh yeah, big time. Like it's still, yeah.
Did
Especially that intro when they show the ship, like during the intro. I forget what was I kidding. The intro.
Yeah.
Like you see the nacelles and all that. Like it looks so retro, but at the same time so modern.
Right. It's modern enough for people now to, you have to appreciate it, to appreciate the amount of work and detail that went into the 3D models and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool because, one thing I try to avoid as a Gen Xer is doing the whole, ow, that doesn't look like I remembered it.
Yeah.
I realize that there is a whole new generation of fans that are going to watch this and appreciate it. And even to the point, like, I even kind of apply that a little bit to the Abrams version of the Enterprise, which I initially hated. I was like, why are you changing this? You don't need to. You're kind of really just doing it just because you want to show people how sorry, just how, like, oh, I'm in control. This is I'm in creative control. I can do whatever I want, blah blah blah. And it's like, but now I'm like, you know what? He did him. It's there. And I still got my Prime Universe Star Trek, so yeah, I'm happy enough as it is. I can take some elements away, but sorry, I digress, as I always do. But the whole point is that even though they've updated the look, they still had enough of a retro spin on it to really appreciate what you're looking at. Again, so it's, I feel like as a classic Trek or a middle-aged Trek lover, it's still enough for me to love it, and it's new and polished enough for new fans to be able to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So in episode 1, we start off with, you see Christopher Pike. He is in Montana. Well, actually, sorry, I do this to skip ahead. Let me try to wind that back a little bit. It starts off with what looks to be a modern day, like, military facility, and it looks like somebody has detected a UFO in orbit around the planet. And and you're like, oh man, did somebody go back in time and get busted? And then you realize when they show the person who's walking into the scene, that, oh, that's an alien. That's not Earth. That's some other planet, and they just pegged a Starfleet vessel. Uh-oh. So then we go on to Pike being in Montana. He does.
So I was gonna say that right there. That's where it starts off. We know this is a different kind of show, because now we're gonna have a storyline from a different alien's perspective, and none of the other shows like really do that. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, you're right, and as anybody who has been keeping up knows, that they have promised that Strange New Worlds will follow the Planet/Monster of the Week episodic format that the original series started with. So yeah, we got to see the perspective of the other side, and it's like, oh, Starfleet got busted. Uh-oh. So we know that something's going to happen. It's going to draw the Enterprise into the mix, and this seems like just as good a way to do it as any.
Mm.
Uh, then we have again. So we go back to we see Pike. He is like his little communicator's chirping him like, okay. So he gets up. He's doing the whole breakfast thing, and you're gonna have to I guess fill my memory in. Was the part where he does the breakfast thing with his girlfriend? Was that before April showed up, or was that after April showed up?
Wait, April who?
Admiral Robert April.
Oh, that's his.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no. He did the whole.
Well, that's right.
No,
It was
yeah.
actually it was after he went for the horse ride after, because
Yeah.
she said,
Yes,
she's
'cause
like,
she left. She had to leave.
right, and she said, I'll be back tomorrow, but I hope you're not here.
Yeah, no, I'll be back in a month, and I hope you're not here.
That's right. I'll be back in a
Yeah,
month,
yeah.
and I'll see you if you're here, but I hope you're not here.
I hope you're
Then
not
he goes for the horse ride, and finally, Robert April, now Admiral Robert April, shows up. Does the whole, hey, we got this thing going on. We had a first contact mission, and it didn't go very well. And your first officer, Una, which is really cool because for the last 50 plus years, like 56 or so years, Una, the first, number one, never had a name, because she basically showed up in the cage in the original pilot, played by hats off, Major Roddenberry, and we never knew anything about the character other than she was the first officer of the ship, and now we have a name. Her name is Una, and played by Rebecca Romaine. Holy cow, fantastic actress! Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
And now we got a husband and wife pulling double duty in this in the verse. Her husband
fact.
Jerry O'Connell is on Lower Decks.
Oh yeah. Well, the fun fact is, when we used to live in Agora, we had a sushi restaurant that we used to frequent, like at least once a week. Like we'd walk in, they already knew our order. They would give me my sake, give my wife her beer.
Yeah.
But every now and then, Rebecca Romaine and Jerry O'Connell would be there. That was also their sushi restaurant as well. So we would always see them like sitting over by us, just eating their sushi.
Think you and I are gonna have to start going to Agora again. Did I say something?
Well, that restaurant ended up getting taken over by new owners and went downhill.
We're gonna have to find where they go now. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
seriously.
What did I say? Yeah. So Pike is like, Robert April's like, hey, your first officer is missing. I need you back on the ship in 18 hours. You need to be Oskies. You need to go trim that manly man
Shave
beard.
that beard.
Yep, the one who's there's more hair on his face than on his head, and he's got a pretty thick head of hair. And you need to go. You need to be split skis. And he's like, okay, I guess. Well, that's an order. I'll go. I do love the little quips here, like when his communicator keeps chirping over breakfast, and she's like, phone's ringing. Like who's gonna get that reference? Like, really? I mean, obviously we will, because we're nerdy Star Trek fans who use cell phones and telephones and stuff. But it was just cool. I mean, I'm sorry. I know I'm gushing and I'm waffling a bit about it, but I'm just so freaking excited that we have Star Trek that, for the first time since, like, say, Enterprise, stuff makes sense. Like it's going in a way, and I don't want to say that to take away from the abilities of the other actors and actresses from the other series. When people talk about Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, look, Will Wheaton just is absolute gaga for these series, and I get it. He is a very sort of, he's like, I'm very open and I'm very accepting and I love Star Trek now. He's gone back to embracing what that stuff. So he kind of gushes about it, about the series, and I'm like, I'm not really buying it because I'm not a big fan of Discovery, and as you know, wasn't a huge fan of Picard, although second season much better than first. The thing is, with this series so far, it feels like they are getting their groove. They are doing things to endear us to their characters. I'm already relating to every character that I've seen on this series. We get Pike back in the captain's chair, but the cool thing is that they truly make him human. Like, he is really a human. He is haunted by that vision where he becomes Captain Melty Face. And of course, we never knew. We only knew like some very, very basic facts about what happened to Captain Pike, and that was from the episode, the original series episode, the Menagerie, where Pike basically shows back up in a big wheelchair, melty face, can't talk, can only communicate through beeps on his wheelchair. And we get kind of get the explanation. Kirk's like, "Oh, Bones, what happened?" Oh, he was touring an old J class training ship, and something buckled. And then I think Bones is like the Delta rays. Now we know he got exposed to a massive amount of radiation and became Captain Melty Face. But we saw that we knew that happened when he went to that Klingon monastery in Discovery season 2. So he saw that. He saw all that happens. He knows how he felt it. He actually felt himself have that moment. And I can hear motorcycles, or I should say donor cycles from the freeway. Sorry, I got my window open in here just to keep things cool. But he felt it, he experienced it, he knows exactly when it's going to happen. So you can imagine that stuff's going to haunt you. If you know,
it's going to affect all your decisions.
Exactly. If you know when you're going to die, how you're going to die, and everything about that moment when you die. And I don't mean like die isn't like death. He explains it in episode 1. He's like, well, it basically the person he was dies that day because he's not there anymore. His brain's working, but his body is kaput. And excuse me. So it haunts him. And you see that. Like every time he looks into some sort of reflective surface, he can see Captain Melty Face looking at him. And of course he would freak you out. Hell, it'd freak me out. I mean, I've seen what those apps on my cell phone do when they take my beard off. I'm like, what the? Who's that?
So the character development is amazing. Like that's just another great thing about the show. Like it already makes you care.
Yeah,
about all of them.
You automatically identify with the struggles that he's had.
Yeah.
So he does his duty. He follows orders. He gets back on the ship. He's clean shaven. He's ready to rock and roll. And they take off, go off to this planet. They find out that the ship that Una was on is still in orbit. There's nobody there. Apparently, there's only a few people on board. They find out that this primitive, supposed to be not pre-warp society, somehow has a warp signature on the planet, and they know that the Federation didn't give it to them. So they're like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And then worse, they're like, "It's not a warp drive signature; it's a warp bomb." Like somehow they figured out how to make a warp bomb. Which one thing that's really cool about this whole thing, and I hope I don't oversimplify this first episode, but basically it comes down to They arrive at a pre-warp civilization planet, realize that they have advanced technology in the form of a warp bomb. That they also know that their crew is on the planet somehow, and they believe that they're being held against their will. And this turns out to be a wonderful kind of window back into the 1980s, when you had, the fear of World War III happening between the United States and the Soviet Union. This takes place on this planet. You have these factions who have been fighting for so long that they almost don't really know what the hell they've been fighting for anymore. And of course they're like, "Oh, you got this terrible weapon. You're gonna blow us up." And we're like, "You're not gonna blow you up. We're just got this in case you want to blow us up." And they're like, "Holy crap!" They do the classic thing where they use medical technology to make the away team look like members of the planet, but of course, for I guess largely storytelling reasons, they make it so that the effects don't last very long. So of course they're gonna get caught out the wrong, at the absolute wrong moment, And it turns out Spock, who is looking like this alien race, suddenly like, uh-oh, I think I'm in trouble. And they get caught. They send up the crew back up to the ship. And it is Pike and is it Singh who stay behind, or is it Spock? Ian Spock.
No, it wasn't Spock.
Or was it the security guard, a security officer? Singh?
Yeah,
who stays behind. So they stay behind to deal with the, it's like, hey, the cat's out of the bag. They know we know they're aliens, and they're like, well, we're not really breaking the Prime Directive because they have warp technology. They're like, how did they get warp technology?
And there's no such thing as the Prime Directive yet.
Well, yeah, it's General Order 1, which is the non-interference order, which effectively becomes the Prime Directive. But it's like they're like, well, we can't screw it up because they already got warp technology. Then you ask, well, how did they get warp technology? Aha! The way that this alien planet gets the warp technology is that they were using basically their version of like Hubble and whatnot, and they're looking to the skies, and they saw the whole thing where Discovery goes through the massive wormhole and ends up in the future and like the 32nd century, and it's like, okay, cool. They watch that and they derive from that what it took to actually make and build a warp powered vessel. So they reverse engineered it by watching TV. So it's like, well, I guess it's like not really breaking the rules because we showed it to them inadvertently. So they went down to take care of everything, and they're talking. They're talking with this like a prime minister, president kind of person, and she's like, "I don't care what you guys say. We're gonna blow up those damn commies. I mean, other aliens." But ultimately, they are able to work out what's going on and how they can
thanks to Pike.
Yeah, he works out how to get them to talk to each other, and he realizes that the big thing with these aliens and these factions is that they're sort of like they're posturing. It's like, hey, speak softly, carry a big stick, sort of thing. And so he decides to pull a power move, and actually has the Enterprise kind of dip down into the atmosphere, and they can see it right in the sky. Like, hi, look, it's the Enterprise.
He's like, it's he who has the biggest stick wins. Well, here, look at my stick.
Yeah, I have the biggest one right now. And then, of course, they all look out the window, and there's the Enterprise just cruising on by. Sup? Peace. And yeah, so of course they were like, well, these guys could like melt us from orbit. that's not good. So they decide to sit down and talk to each other, and he does the whole "can't we all just get along" speech. Which again, I'm not saying this to, I guess, to detract from the amazing episode. It was just more like hey guys, you could sit here and you could blow each other to bits, or you can come and look at what we got. And they're like,
it's exactly what they were saying. What we wanted to do: go back to having hope. Go back to like the episodes where they try and fix their problem with words and like and solve their issues, and it's exactly what Pike did.
well,
It's exactly what we wanted.
and that's the thing is that Gene Roddenberry, when he created Star Trek, he wanted to create a somewhat utopian future where people resolve their issues through cooperation and in intellectualism. But there had to be some sort of stressors and some sort of things. So he found ways.
Yeah, you gotta have that.
Yeah, he found ways to bring or to allow stories in there that told that addressed the I guess the social issues of the time, and just so many great civil stories and social stories and whatnot, and how they dealt with issues at the time, which a lot of it centered around the civil rights movement. But he was able to tell stories and tell these stories of conflict without it coming to a fist fight all the time. Like it wasn't space battles all the time. It wasn't, oh, we're gonna be at war all the time. No, it was like, hey, we're smarter than this. We're better than this. We can figure out these stories, or we can figure out our problems by talking to each other. And that was like that whole thing where Pike beams right down into the middle of the negotiation chamber between the two factions where they're arguing. I mean, when he's right there talking to them and shows them the Enterprise, and it's like, that's perfect. It's like, look, guys, you could sit there and just blow each other to bits, or you can come check out my sweet ride. And they're like, well, yeah, I'm gonna go check out the sweet ride, man. Whatever.
So it was like, that was a perfect ending, perfect episode. It was an awesome first episode for this new series.
Yep. Like I said with in the previous episode when I was talking with Patrick, the guy who is not a Trekkie at all. His words to me when he watched that episode, now that was an episode of Star Trek. And of course he was into it the next night, and even tonight when I was watching and getting prepped for the show, he messages me. He's like, yep, I'll be watching that tomorrow because it was late for him. He's in the Eastern time zone, so I was like, yeah, dude, fill your boots. You're gonna love it. So that's a really good segue into episode dos, and we're back at it. We're back at the Enterprise is out there. It's doing its 5-year mission thing, and like, okay, what's going to happen? Oh, it starts off with a log entry from Cadet Uhura, and she's talking about like having to, like, they're checking out this comet that's kind of just cruising through the galaxy, gonna pass by a planet, and she's like nervous because she's having to do, like, she's doing like was it away team rotation schedules and stuff, while they're all kind of scoping out this comet that's flying through, and they're like, and they go to she, like, it starts off they're talking, she's talking with Ortega's, and they're walking through the ship. They're on their way to have a meal with the captain. And yeah, so like, you're having a real good human discussion about being nervous and being apprehensive about, oh man, I don't want to screw up. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth in front of the captain.
Yeah.
And so they get there, and everybody's like sort of casual dressed, and there's Uhura in her dress uniform, and they're like,
I love this. I love how. Oh yeah, go ahead. Because they're making fun. They were hazing her.
Yeah,
she's all in her dress uniform. Everyone's all casual.
Yeah, and the funny thing is and you get to see the engineer for the first time who was played. The character is an Enar for those who are watching who did not watch Enterprise season 4. The Enar are a sub race of the Andorians. They come from planet Andor, but they are they're albino as far as their skin is pure white as opposed to being blue like the cobalt based Andorians. And the Enar also have a small amount of precognition or precognitive ability in their frontal lobes, but they're blind. So it's kind of like they use it like a way to enhance their senses, and they're like, yes, you're blind, but your other senses are stronger. And of course, as you said, the engineer just completely ribbing and hazing Uhura. Even Spock gets in on the act.
Yeah. That was a fun scene.
Yeah. So they're talking about it, and they're talking about their history and where they come from. And Uhura lets it slip that she doesn't know if she wants to be in Starfleet. The only reason why she went into Starfleet is because her parents. She grew up in Nairobi. And her parents were professors at the University of Nairobi, and she was going to go there, and they were killed in a shuttlecraft accident. And after that, she couldn't bring herself to going to school there, so she joined Starfleet because she always knew that she wanted to deal with languages and all that. She's a polyglot, which is great. No old musty Klingon book of Klingon from Star Trek 6 where they're ha 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 ha. Yeah, let's not talk about ever again. But yeah, she's like, I want to do languages, and
I love this scene because this felt total Star Trek. Just like in TNG, they would all get together in someone's room and either play a game or they would have a meal, like the one where Riker was cooking for them.
Oh man, you remember when he made
that? A lot like TNG, like that episode.
Remember when Riker made that?
Pike was cooking.
Yeah, remember when Riker scrambled that giant alien egg?
Yeah, the eggs.
I think they were Qatarian eggs or something like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it felt very TNG. I loved it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, definitely they had that. So okay, one of my biggest beefs with Star Trek since Enterprise is that I felt like they were trying to shoehorn those characters into the scene, or into the series, like you gotta love these characters because they're in this show. You have to. There's no two ways around it. You have to love them. What? No, I don't have to love them. I mean, I can respect the actors and actresses. But no, that's not good enough. You have to love them. Love them. No, man. No. They're 2 episodes in, and they've already earned my appreciation for their characters.
They're fleshing them out. They're giving them, you're deciding for yourself if you like them or not. Is it because they each have their own emotions, their own I don't know. They're giving these characters time to breathe, I guess, or giving us a little bit extra time with each character.
Agreed. So they realize afterwards that the comet it looks like it's on a trajectory course to smash into the planet and kill billions of people on the planet. And the people on this planet, they're very primitive, low to no technology, and basically they're like, we got to do something. We don't have to give them warp drive, but we can't let them die. And this is well and truly before the Prime Directive is fully fleshed out. So, the Prime Directive is, for those not aware of it, it is the non-interference clause. It is if they're going to die, then we can't interfere with that. But in this point, they're like, okay, cool. Well, let's see what we can do to figure it out. We don't have to show them our faces. We don't have to show them we're here. We just got to help. So they decide, let's fire some torpedoes at this comet and try to push it off course. And when they do, oddly enough, a force field appears and deflects or basically absorbs the torpedoes. And they're like, WTF?
What?
What?
Shields on a comet?
No way. And then they like, okay, well, we're gonna go over and have a look. So Uhura gets her first away team mission rotation. She go over there with Spock and Singh and Brother Kirk, and of course Uhura. They get on board. They realize, oh, this is some sort of alien ship. It's not really an asteroid. And there's the galaxy's largest Fabergé egg in the middle. Yeah. And of course, Kirk being Kirk, being a Kirk, he's like, I'm gonna go check this out, man. This looks cool.
I'm gonna touch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the stupid thing and touch it. Oh yeah, and that's right. You got bitten in the ass for that one, buddy. You earned that.
He actually died for a good 30 seconds.
Yeah, just like my love of Star Trek. Whenever I hear the word Axonar mentioned. So they realize, oh crap, he's in major need of medical attention, but we're stuck here because this force field's gone up and we can't get out. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, on the Enterprise, they realize, hey man, let's tell you what, there's a force field here. Let's use our phasers to try to get these guys out there. They go to shoot the phasers and like, no. Nope. Big mean alien ship shows up and says, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" Like, hey man, we're just trying to get this thing out of the way. No, don't touch that. That's our Fabergé egg. They're like, hey, we're the shepherds. We're here to basically guide this to where it needs to go. Make sure it gets to where it needs to go. And again, just the name of the device escapes me. Mahatma something or whatever. It's not the Mahatma Gandhi. It's the it's not the Manamana.
Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But and of course the whole time I'm singing to my wife. My baloney has a first name. It's OSDAR. my special space egg has a second name. And of course she's looking at me like I'm not right in the head, and of course that would be absolutely true. What did you think when they figured out that the communication between them and the unit was through music, through mathematics using music?
I thought that was a cool concept. I thought it was it's cool because it's like you never think about that. Like maybe there is some aliens that communicate with music or
yeah, and I thought of course I started singing like the lyrics to "Sweet Child of Mine," and I utter that horrible line. Is it classical? Like is that sabotage? Is that classical music? And like, oh geez, don't make me hurt somebody. I will hurt somebody in the worst possible way. But
so then Uhura sings her songs and realizes, oh, this is how I communicate with it.
Going back to the whole meal scene at the beginning of the episode, they she's nervous and so she starts humming some sort of tune, some old folk tune from Nairobi, and what was cool is they really played on Uhura's ability to sing. We saw it in the original series. We saw it in Star Trek V when she did the fan dance, and they just kept that that element of that character going, and they're deep diving into her backstory, which is phenomenal. Finally, like, thank you.
Yeah, they've never really done that.
No, awesome. And so she uses, of course she's nervous, she's worried. Kirk is out on the floor, barely being kept alive. The shield is keeping him from leaving, and they're like, oh crap. She's like, this is my first time on an away mission, and I think I'm gonna die. So she and Spock sort of have a conversation, and Spock is basically like giving the Vulcan version of a pep talk, and it's like, dude, oh yeah, okay. So she starts humming, and the cave inside the asteroid starts humming back, and she starts singing and figuring out the logistics of the math that went into making the song, and that was really cool. And of course, they figured out how to open the giant Fabergé egg and bring down the force field. They beam back over to the ship. The Shepard's like, "Hey man, I told you not to mess around with our stuff, but you messed around with our stuff, so I'm going to shoot you."
They were cool looking aliens. I like
Yeah.
how their heads were like,
And they kept kept pulsating like the ones from Talos 4, the big cranium aliens. And
it was cool though, because it was just like, yeah, like you said, like the creature or the monsters of the week, and it's like they're dealing with the one monster on the screen, just like TNG and everything.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah. So basically, Pike has this idea, like we gotta figure out how to make the comet turn itself away from the planet. And Spock gets in the shuttle. He does this sublimation thing along the surface of the whatcha-jigger, the comet, and the comet moves out of the way. He comes back on board. They see that it misses the planet, and then they're like, "Oh, wait a minute! It flew by in just the right way that like a chunk of ice and water and all that stuff is entering the atmosphere. And suddenly." It's changing. It's like terraforming the planet into some place that's more hospitable. And they're like, wait a minute. And they're like, dude, check this out. Like, see this chunk of ice? Like, this is the one that broke off when Spock did his sublimation thing. Well, look at this. This is a picture we took of it like hours ago. And that same piece of like ice is right there. And like, that's not possible. That's got to be some sort of coincidence. And it's like, no. Like, they knew. So they were able to express the ability to have faith without it being overly religious. And I love that.
Yeah.
So they figure out that, hey, stuff was going to happen this way regardless. It didn't matter what they did. And so they were able, but the thing is, it was like predestined. It was going to happen.
Or her explained to them like, oh, hours before we had their signal and we used math to figure out what they were saying, and this was all predicted like hours before Spock did it.
Right.
But it required Spock to do it.
Yep. And of course, there is a space shootout. The big bad alien guys are shooting at the Enterprise. Enterprise getting its ass whooped a little bit.
Scenes.
Yeah, but it goes to show just how maneuverable the Enterprise really is.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. And I love those shuttles, man. The shuttles are awesome. Like they really did a nice rework of those.
They look like Tesla trucks.
The Cybertrucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of it, they say, "Hey, look, sorry, we didn't mean to mess with your thing. We were just trying to save this planet." And they're like, look, dude, we knew this was going to happen. We're just here to watch the show and make sure it gets to where it needs to go. And it did exactly what it was supposed to do without, even if they did nothing, it would have done the right thing and go where it had to go. So we finish it. The alien guy says, hey, we're going to part as not enemies. So rock and roll, and they're like, thanks, man. Nice to have a new friend out there in the galaxy. Peace out, man. Have fun. Bye-bye. Be safe.
See you, fam.
Yeah. Peace out, man. Peace out.
Another great episode.
Yeah, and at the end of the episode, awesome episode, Pike is talking with Una, and they're having the discussion about, because even though Pike is coming to terms with everything, he's still wigged out. The dude's like, what am I gonna, like, I remember the names of the kids that I saved, and he goes through and he's talking with Una, and they're like, hey, look, now that this is going to happen and when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen, maybe you can do something to stop it. Maybe you can interfere, you can change what's going to happen. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know, maybe, sort of, kind of. But he's like, I'll give it a try, and it ends right with him pulling up the
Yeah, the file
the
information
files
on all the kids.
on all the kids. I was like, dude, that's got to really mess with your head, but he's trying. And immediately that makes that character 1,000 times more relatable. And that's where they end it. I mean, and then I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And I've got another episode coming next week. Come on, let's do this. Yeah. Oh, this is great. I love Star Trek. And then I ran upstairs and got online and I talked. And now I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome
episode.
Overall feeling of the first 2 episodes, would you give it thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down?
I would absolutely give it 2 thumbs up, way up.
Yep.
It was amazing Star Trek.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I cannot wait to see more of this. And it's like, dude, I haven't.
What did you think?
Well, and I again, I still find myself shaking my head because I was in such a deep funk with Star Trek. I hated it. I was like, and I was miserable because it's like, how do I hate the thing I've loved so much for so many years? And now it's like, haha, I'm back. And I'm like, is it gonna go away? Am I gonna see something I don't like? Am I gonna get pissed off again? Am I gonna hate Star Trek? Nope. It's right there.
Your nacelles got recharged.
Yep. That's right. Don't you forget it.
One thing did you notice when they were at dinner, Pike was talking about getting in a fight with a Nausicaan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like John Luke when he was talking about how he got stabbed in the...
Yep, in that episode Tapestry when he gets
Nausicaan.
Yep, when he gets turned into a shish kebab by a Nausicaan.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a nice little throw, like a little callback.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that kind of brings us to the end of things. It is very much a very cool series. Cannot wait to see more of it. Cannot wait to deep dive some more on these characters, and I'm looking so forward to talking with you, Brandon, and with our audience about the episode and what's going on. Very much looking forward to what's coming next.
Me too.
So, with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody very much for watching this show, for following us on Instagram. So, as you can see down here on the screen, we are on Instagram at Treknicity, Facebook we are under the Red Shirt Geeks, and of course on YouTube at Red Shirt Geeks. You can go to our website redshirtgeeks.tv and it will bring you to our YouTube page where you can watch this show and other shows that we produce. And yeah, in the meantime, thank you very, very much for watching this. We'll see you next time on Treknicity. I'm Lars.
I'm Brandon.
And as always, rock out, which is Spock out. We'll see you next time, folks. Have a good day.
Night-night.